Hey everybody. So there's a little project that I've been working on for a little while now, and I think it's far enough along to go ahead and release into the wild and show everyone. So this is a website that I've built, and this is a practice tool to help you practice polyrhythms. And we've been talking about polyrhythms for the past couple lessons, and was really set on doing a lesson on how to practice them. But the more I worked on that, the more I got a little bit frustrated, and I just started to feel like there really isn't a good way to practice polyrhythms, at least on your own. Every time that I've taught them to someone or tried to teach it to myself, it winds up that you either need a teacher there to say, oh, this doesn't sound right, this is what you need to be doing, or you need a pretty elaborate setup with recording software and a keyboard and a way to record yourself and analyze afterwards. And even that has some pretty big flaws. And I think the reason is that the nature of a polyrhythm is that as you play it faster, the notes have a tendency to get misaligned. It's just a rhythm that has a very odd feel to it, and it just wants to morph into something a little bit simpler and easier to play. And it becomes very hard to tell that that's happening when you're just playing it yourself. So I decided to go ahead and build something to help you with that. So if you go to the link in the description, you'll wind up on this website. The link may change, so if this disappears, just check back. It may just be a different link. But it looks like this. And if you ignore the little circle things for just a second, this is a piano, and there's three ways to play this, or three ways to get input into this thing. So you can click on the notes, which is probably the least exciting way. You can use your computer keyboard, so that should be wired up directly into that thing. So you play your keys, it plays notes. Or, and this is by far the coolest way, if you have a electronic piano, anything that has MIDI output or some way of getting MIDI into a USB connection, you can just plug this in and it should just work. Right, like that's my big giant stage piano that you've seen. Or, I can use my little Akai LPK piano, a little tiny one you've seen. If you have anything, you should just be able to plug it in and play. Although you actually, once you plug it in, you may have to refresh the page. It's a little bug that I need to fix, I guess. So that is by far the best way to get notes in here. So here's how you use this to practice a polyrhythm. So there's these little, I don't know, little beat channels or something, where you have this little circle, or we'll call it a dot, this little dot that will eventually cross this circle. And the idea is that you want to play that note as it crosses the circle. So whatever note this thing is lined up with, you want to play it right when it crosses the center of the circle. If you play it at exactly the right time, the circle will turn green, and there's this little bar on the side that will tell you, or just kind of visually show you when you've played that note. If it's lined up exactly right, that means you've played it at the right time. If the bar is blue and it's too far up, it means you've played it too early. And if it's red and too far down, it means you've played it too late. So it's just a really straightforward way, find the note, of showing you, if you're playing that note at the right time. Now, unfortunately, my computer is too much of a potato to record this and play it at the same time. So I have a lot of lag and glitchiness. So I'm actually going to have a really hard time demonstrating much of this stuff. So you'll have to, I don't know, fill in the blanks a little bit. One day I'll have a better computer, hopefully. But that's the idea. And when you run this yourself, it should be nice and responsive, or at least it has been for me on everything I've tested it on. So that's the idea with these little beat things. And you notice the number 2, this means that this little channel here is going to be playing two dots per beat, or 2 subdivisions per beat. The one on the right is playing 3. So this, works like that, and the one on the right, works like that. So this is a 2/3 polyrhythm, and if you play them at the same time, you can tell I'm playing it really late. Should sound like that. Like I said, I have a lot of lag. It's really hard to demonstrate, but I think you get the idea. So this is a 2/3 polyrhythm. And then actually you can turn on sound. I have it muted because it's kind of annoying to talk over. You can have it make a tick sound. Something like that. You can do a banjo sound. The banjo sound's kind of goofy, but I actually really like it because it's a pitched sound, so you get a sense of what the sound ought to be like. But it sounds very distinct from the piano sound you get from playing. So it's actually a pretty good way to practice. You can also, you can do piano, banjo, or a tick. I'll leave that off for now. So that's the idea. That's how you would practice a 2/3 polyrhythm. But you can also change these. So if you just hit the little arrow, you can wind up doing, 3/4. You can practice that. It sounds like that. You could do 5/4. And you get a sense pretty quick how crazy these rhythms will get, even just bumping the numbers up by a little bit. So I strongly recommend that you stay with very simple ones like 2/3, or even 4/3 or 3/4 is pretty difficult. So spend plenty of time with the simpler ones as you get used to this. But in theory, you could practice just about anything you wanted to here. There's no limit to what kind of numbers you can put in. So you want to do a crazy one, 6/7. Have fun. Okay, and then of course you can change the tempo. So you can play something a lot slower. Do a simpler one, 2/3, and really just set it up however you like. You can also grab these things and move them to different notes. So if you something is more comfortable, or you just want to try a different sound, you can do that. Anyway, so that's pretty much the idea as far as the polyrhythms go. Now the mental part of this, how you should approach it and the things you should pay attention to. We'll talk about that for a second. So there are 3 things you're going to have to pay attention to here as you practice this. And really this goes for any rhythm you're practicing, not just polyrhythms. The first thing is that if you're going to play this right, you have to have the pattern right, which is kind of obvious. And that's what we spent the past couple lessons on, which is how to analyze a polyrhythm, how to figure out how to count it and teach it to yourself at a slow tempo. But obviously, if you don't have that pattern right, you are never going to be able to play it at any tempo, never mind slow or fast. So that is the first thing to do. And a good way to help with that is to just, turn the sound on and listen to something at a pretty slow tempo. So that's the 2/3, right? And I really do think you should go through the lessons and understand why it sounds this way and how to count it. If you just listen to it, that's really not the worst thing, but it's, I think, a lot harder to really internalize it if you're not understanding it and counting it out. And it definitely becomes a lot harder if you make any kind of changes to the rhythm. Like you're playing an actual song and putting notes in there or doing anything special. It's much, much harder to think about. But you can play it slow, analyze the rhythm, and kind of internalize it that way. So that's the first thing you have to do. The next is, as you start to practice it, and I'll put this at, put this at something a little bit more reasonable. But as you start to practice this, you have to have the rhythm right, and then you also have to play the tempo correctly, or at the right speed. This can be a little trickier than you would think. So say you start playing it at almost the right speed, you're going a little bit too fast. What will happen, and what this tool is here to help show you, is that at first the notes will pretty much line up. Let's see if I can do this without the sound on. The notes will line up, but you'll be playing too fast. So within a beat or two, you will start to get ahead. And in this case, ahead means the notes will start to turn blue. So it could look like, say I'm more or less right, but if I'm going too fast, you can see those bars start to get higher and higher as I'm getting ahead of the beat. That just means that I'm playing the tempo too fast. If I play it too slow, I may start out right, but then they'll start to turn red, as I'm getting behind. Like that. The problem is that if I'm getting behind the beat, or I'm playing it too slow, I can speed up to try to adjust. And what will happen is I will still be behind for a couple beats, and then eventually I will catch up and the notes will turn green again. But then I'll be going too fast, where the notes will start to be too early and it'll turn blue. And you wind up where if you change your speed to try to catch up to the rhythm, you always tend to overshoot. It'll match for a second, and then you're going too fast and you slow down again, and then a beat or two later it'll start to match, and then it's too slow, and you'll wind up just kind of oscillating back and forth. It's really a bad way to practice and something you want to avoid. So a much better way to do it is to just play a couple beats, and if your tempo is getting off, just stop, wait a couple beats, and then jump back in again after you've mentally readjusted your tempo. So say I'm doing this, I'm more or less right, and then I start to get behind. I'll just stop, wait a couple beats, and then jump in again. Okay? And that's really how you ought to go about this. The other problem is that you can be playing the right rhythm, you can be playing the right tempo, but you can be out of phase. And what that would mean is that you're playing everything just a little bit too soon. Even though you're playing at the right speed, you're not actually playing the notes at the same time. So it could look kind of like this. Like, let's say that I'm playing a little bit early. And you can see that I'm not really going anywhere. I'm actually getting the rhythm right and I'm at the right tempo. I'm just playing everything too early. Same problem here. That's actually pretty good. I'm playing it more or less right. I'm just not lined up. And what I don't want to do is, speed up or slow down to try to adjust it. I just want to stop, wait for a beat or two to pass, and then jump in again and try to line it up right. And even though this all sounds a little bit common sense, it's something that I see a lot of people struggle with, not just for polyrhythms, for really any rhythm that you're trying to play along with a backing track or a metronome or whatever. Just stop, take a breath, mentally adjust a little bit, and then jump back in. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. I think this is, by design, should be a pretty simple tool, and it should be pretty flexible, so you can line these up how you like. You can play with whatever input method you like, ideally a piano, and then you can change the beats, change the tempo, do what you want to do. Going forward, I'm actually really kind of excited about this little tool, even though, like I said, it took way too long to make. I don't know why I set out to do this. Like, hey, I got this idea. I'm going to build this website. And then a couple days in, I realized, wait a second, I've never built a website before. Why did I think I could do this? Never mind a graphical one with, like sensitive latency and audio input and all that stuff. Anyway, I figure given enough time and Google, anyone can do anything. But it did take a little bit too much time. So the next lessons will be coming a little bit quicker. I'm not going to dive into any major projects in the next few weeks. But this is here. It's a really cool tech, I think. So if you guys have any ideas on other stuff you'd like to see, other practice tools, I've got a couple ideas that I think would be cool. So let me know. Because now that this is all set up, it should be pretty easy to add other things and make changes. And also, this is pretty much brand new. I just finished it, although there's more I want to add, but I'm just now releasing it, so you're gonna find bugs for sure. You can message me directly if you want, YouTube or email or whatever, although I have a really hard time keeping up with messages on there. So the best way is to actually just follow the GitHub link, which is down at the bottom. And if you've never seen GitHub before, it doesn't matter too much. Just click on the Issues tab and then create a new issue. And this kind of puts it right with the code where I can see it and take care of it. Or if you're a developer and you are familiar with JavaScript and whatnot, which I certainly am not, so you probably know more than I do, and you want to make changes or submit a pull request, feel free to do that. The code is open source, so you could fork it and do what you like. But yeah, that's it. Let me know what you think. Let me know how it feels after you've actually used this and practiced with it, and if you have any complaints or different ideas. But thanks. I hope this is fun for you guys. It was pretty fun to make. So I will see you in the next lesson, which will be coming much sooner. Okay, bye-bye.